for over 3,000 years? The Galactic Navy had never retreated, not from superweapons, not from impossible odds, not even from civilizations far more advanced than humanity. Then, a lone human ship drifted into the middle of their formation. No shields, no visible weapons, no escort. It didn't request permission, it didn't issue threats. It transmitted only one message. Countdown initiated. 10 sabuan to warning, 59 warning, 58. The admirals laughed. Then their long-range scanners found nothing. No hidden fleet, no cloaked weapon, no energy buildup, just silence. And a countdown that never stopped. By the time it reached 05, the first battleship had already turned around. When it reached Awanayon, the greatest navy in galactic history, ran. Not because humanity fired, but because nobody knew. What would happen when the countdown reached 0? For centuries, the Galactic Navy had been the definition of absolute power. Its fleets stretched across entire star systems. Its admirals had conquered thousands of civilizations. No enemy had ever forced them to retreat. Then, on an ordinary patrol near the Orion frontier, their sensors detected a single unidentified vessel. It wasn't a battleship. It wasn't even a destroyer. According to the scanners, it was a small human reconnaissance ship. No heavy armor, no missile bays, no energy cannons. One young alien officer laughed. One ship? They must be lost. The bridge filled with quiet amusement. Admiral Vorik didn't laugh. He simply watched the holographic display. The tiny human vessel continued moving, steadily, calmly, without changing course, without opening communication. When it stopped, every weapon aboard the galactic fleet locked onto it. Still, the human ship did nothing. Then, every frequency across the battlefield activated simultaneously. No voice, no music, no warning. Only one line appeared. Countdown initiated 10. The timer immediately began decreasing. 09:59. 09:58. The bridge became strangely quiet. Admiral Vorik ordered a full tactical scan. Hidden fleets? Negative. Cloaked stations? Negative. Gravitational anomalies? Negative. Nothing. The human ship was completely alone. Yet, it behaved as though it already knew. The battle was over. For reasons no one could explain, Admiral Vorik felt something he had never experienced in over 200 years of command. Doubt. The countdown continued. 09:17, 09:16. No explosions, no radio transmissions, no movement from the human vessel. Its engines remained idle, its weapons still invisible. Inside the flagship, every officer watched the timer instead of the ship. Admiral Vorik finally broke the silence. Run another scan. The tactical officer immediately obeyed. Quantum scanners, negative. Dark matter sensors, negative. Subspace imaging, negative. The results were identical. The human ship carried no hidden fleet, no cloaked superweapon, nothing. Yet, no one on the bridge felt safe. A young lieutenant finally spoke. Permission to destroy the target? Vorik didn't answer immediately. Instead, he asked a different question. If they intended to attack, why announce a countdown? Silence. No one had an answer. The fleet's military AI suddenly interrupted. Psychological risk analysis complete. The bridge turned toward the display. Probability that the countdown is a bluff? Unknown. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. The AI continued. Recommendation: do not assume human intentions using conventional military logic. One captain whispered, "They're making us imagine our own worst outcome." Vorik slowly nodded. And imagination is often deadlier than certainty. Outside, the tiny human ship remained perfectly still. No evasive maneuvers, no defensive shields, only the countdown. 07:42. 07:41. Across the Galactic Navy, captains began sending private messages to one another. Do you know what they're planning? Negative. Neither do we. Fear spread not because humanity had revealed a weapon, but because humanity refused to reveal anything at all. Then, the long-range observatory detected something impossible. The human ship had quietly transmitted one final sentence. "You still have time to leave." The countdown never stopped. The countdown continued. 06:59, 06:58. Every second. The silence became heavier. No missiles, no energy signatures, no hidden fleet. Only one impossible message. "You still have time to leave." Admiral Varric replayed the transmission. Again and again. The human voice never changed. No anger, no fear, no desperation. It sounded almost sympathetic. That frightened him even more. The Galactic Navy's intelligence network searched every historical archive. Had humanity ever used a weapon like this before? The answer came back within seconds. No records found. That should have been reassuring. Instead, it made everyone more nervous. If no records existed, then perhaps no one had survived to create them. Across the fleet, rumors spread faster than official orders. Some believed the humans had hidden a planet-killing device. Others feared a weapon that erased entire star systems. One captain quietly ordered his crew to prepare emergency retreat coordinates. Another secretly powered down his weapons, hoping the humans would notice. Fear was spreading, not through explosions, but through uncertainty, inside the tiny human ship. The bridge was almost peaceful. Captain Elias Morgan sat quietly beside the communications console. His executive officer looked at the timer. 5 minutes left. Elias nodded calmly. "Good." The officer hesitated. "Sir, what if they don't leave?" Elias smiled. "Then we continue." No one explained what that meant. Even the crew seemed strangely relaxed, as if they already knew. Something the galaxy didn't. Suddenly, a frantic transmission reached Admiral Varric. One of the reconnaissance cruisers had moved closer to inspect the human vessel. Its final report contained only one sentence. "Commander, there's still no weapon." Then, the signal disappeared. Not destroyed, not interrupted. It simply vanished. Every officer on the flagship froze. The countdown reached 5 hours, and for the first time in Galactic Navy history, an entire battle group began reversing course. The countdown reached 04:59. The recon cruiser had vanished, not exploded, not disabled, simply gone. Every sensor across the Galactic Navy searched the surrounding sector. Nothing, no debris, no distress beacon, no escape jump. It was as if the cruiser Yasai had never existed. The bridge of Admiral Varric's flagship became completely silent. The tactical officer's voice trembled. "Commander, we've lost visual confirmation." Varric frowned. "Of the cruiser?" The officer swallowed. "No. Of the human ship." The enormous holographic display zoomed toward the exact coordinates. The countdown continued. 04:41, 04:40. But the ship itself was gone. Only the timer remained. Across the fleet, confusion turned into panic. Captains shouted contradictory orders. "Target the countdown." "There is no target." "Find the ship." "We can't lock onto anything." For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Navy wasn't fighting an enemy. It was fighting its own fear. Inside the flagship, the military AI interrupted. "Warning. Local space-time distortion detected." Every officer looked up. The distortion wasn't expanding. It had always been there. The human vessel hadn't disappeared. It had been hiding inside a microscopic fold in space, a maneuver no known civilization had ever achieved. Admiral Varric whispered, "They wanted us to notice it, far away, inside the human scout ship." Captain Elias Morgan calmly watched the enemy fleet. His communications officer smiled. "Sir, they're scanning everywhere, except where we really are." Elias nodded. "Exactly. We're not defeating their weapons. We're defeating their assumptions." The countdown continued. 03:59. Then, Every warship in the Galactic Navy received the same automated transmission. Final recommendation: leave now. No threat. No explanation. Only certainty. For Admiral Varek, that certainty was more terrifying than any weapon humanity could have built. The countdown continued. HFY 59. Not a single human weapon had fired. Not a single missile had launched. Yet, across the Galactic Navy, captains began making the same decision: retreat. One battleship slowly turned away, then another, within seconds. Entire squadrons were abandoning formation. No official retreat order had been given. Fear had spread faster than any command. Inside the flagship, Admiral Varek watched in disbelief. Who authorized this withdrawal? No one answered, because no one had. Every captain believed someone else knew the truth. Every captain feared they were the only one who didn't. The military AI displayed a disturbing report. Fleet cohesion rapidly collapsing. Morale, critical probability of panic. Cascade 97.8%. Varek clenched his fists. We're losing. Without a battle. Inside the human scout ship. Captain Elias Morgan remained perfectly calm. His communications officer smiled. They're leaving. Elias slowly shook his head. No. They're escaping. From their own imagination. The crew exchanged quiet smiles. Their mission had never been to destroy the fleet. It had been to make the enemy. Question every assumption they had ever trusted. The countdown reached 2. Suddenly, a young alien captain ignored every retreat order. I refuse to run from an unarmed ship. His cruiser accelerated directly toward the human vessel. The bridge of the flagship erupted. Recall him immediately? Too late. The cruiser crossed the invisible distortion field. For one heartbeat, it remained visible. Then, every screen across the Galactic Navy flashed white. The cruiser vanished. Not destroyed, not exploded, simply gone. Complete silence followed. Admiral Varek slowly closed his eyes. Then he gave the order. No galactic admiral had ever imagined saying. Retreat! All fleets. As thousands of warships turned away, the countdown continued. AO-1 59, AO-1 58, and nobody in the galaxy knew what would happen when it finally reached 0. The countdown continued. 0 to 10. Every remaining ship stopped. No one fired. No one moved. The bridge of Admiral Varek's flagship became completely silent. Thousands of alien eyes remained fixed on one tiny human ship. 000 Warp 5. Captain Elias Morgan calmly folded his hands behind his back. His crew showed no fear, no excitement, only patience. One young officer whispered, Sir, it's almost time. Elias smiled. I know. Year 003. Across the Galactic Navy, emergency escape routes were already being calculated. Some captains prayed, others prepared for death. No one knew what humanity had planned. E002. The stars themselves seemed strangely quiet. Even long-range sensors detected nothing. How 001. Admiral Varek whispered, This is it. 0. Nothing exploded. No superweapon appeared. No hidden fleet emerged. Instead, the countdown simply disappeared. The human ship transmitted one final message. Thank you. Silence. Complete silence. The Galactic Navy stared in confusion. What just happened? Captain Elias finally answered over an open channel. You've spent 6 minutes imagining every weapon we might possess. You analyzed millions of impossible scenarios. You destroyed your own confidence. We never needed a superweapon. We only needed your imagination. The realization struck the fleet all at once. Humanity hadn't defeated their technology. Humanity had defeated their certainty. Weeks later, galactic military academies completely rewrote their strategy manuals. A new chapter appeared in every textbook. The Human Countdown Doctrine. Its first lesson became legendary. The most dangerous weapon is not always the one that fires, but the one that makes your enemy believe it might. From that day forward, whenever a single human ship entered a battlefield, entire fleets paused. Not because they feared the ship, because they feared what they didn't know. 3 months later, the countdown had become legend. Military academies across the galaxy studied it. Psychologists analyzed it. Strategists debated it. Yet no one could explain one question. Why was humanity so confident? Inside Earth's strategic command? Captain Elias Morgan quietly watched the news. Every channel discussed the same event. The human countdown. One young intelligence officer smiled. "Sir, they still think we had a secret weapon." Elias laughed softly. "They're wrong." The officer looked surprised. "We really didn't?" Elias shook his head. "No. There never was a weapon. There never was a hidden fleet." The room fell silent. Everything had been an illusion on the Galactic Council's capital world. The greatest scientists reconstructed every second of the encounter. They simulated millions of possibilities. Every result ended the same way. The human ship should have been destroyed. One elderly historian quietly spoke. "We've been asking what humanity was hiding." He slowly looked toward the stars. "We should have asked what humanity understood back on Earth." Elias entered a secure archive. Only 7 people possessed access. Inside, a single document rested on an old wooden table. Its title read, Project Silence. It had been written, not by generals, not by politicians, but by psychologists. The first page contained only one sentence. "Fear grows fastest inside unanswered questions." Elias smiled. "That was always our real weapon." The young officer whispered, "So, we won? Without firing a single shot?" Elias nodded. "We let them write their own nightmare." Suddenly, every screen inside the command center flashed. An encrypted transmission arrived from the edge of the known universe. No origin, no ship. Only one short message. "Your experiment was successful," Elias frowned. "What experiment?" The transmission continued. "Phase 1 complete. Prepare humanity for first contact." The room became completely silent, because if the countdown had only been Phase 1, then someone had been watching humanity all along. The command center fell silent. No one recognized the transmission. No encryption, no known language. Yet, every human could understand it perfectly. Captain Elias Morgan slowly replayed the message. "Phase 1 complete. Prepare humanity for first contact." He looked toward his officers, traced the source. Within seconds, every communication array on Earth locked onto the signal. The answer appeared. Origin, outside the Milky Way, outside every known map, outside human understanding. 3 days later, the same lone scout ship crossed the edge of the galaxy. No escorts, no weapons, only curiosity. Waiting beyond the darkness was something no telescope had ever recorded. Not a fleet, not an empire, an entire civilization built around living stars. Countless colossal structures floated between galaxies, each one larger than solar systems. Captain Elias whispered, "So, they were real." A brilliant golden light surrounded the human ship. No alarms sounded, no weapons activated. A calm voice filled the bridge. "Welcome, humanity. We are the observers. We have watched your species. Since your first fire, your first wheel, your first step into space." Elias frowned. "You watched everything?" The voice answered, "Yes. We never searched for the strongest civilization. We searched for the wisest." A holographic image appeared. Thousands of civilizations had been tested before humanity. Most relied on larger fleets, more powerful weapons, bigger empires. Humanity did something different. They won without firing a single shot. The observers smiled. "Your countdown? was never about war. It proved that understanding the mind is greater than controlling the battlefield. The stars around the scout ship slowly brightened. The ancient civilization made its final announcement. Humanity has passed the first contact evaluation. The galaxy is no longer your destination. It is only your beginning. Back on Earth, Captain Elias looked toward the stars one last time. He smiled. The greatest victory in human history had never been about defeating an enemy. It had been about proving that wisdom could accomplish what even the largest armies never could. From that day forward, whenever the galaxy spoke of humanity, they didn't call humans the strongest species. They called them the civilization that won a war, with 10 minutes of silence. The end. Sometimes the most powerful message is the one spoken without firing a single shot. If you enjoyed this HFY story, subscribe to Irongeist HFY, leave a like, and tell us in the comments, what would you have done when the countdown reached 0? Until next time, keep looking toward the stars. Toward